I'm very happy and pleased to be here to share our experience and our journey with this particular project. So what do we have here? We have what's called the Koaro Restoration Project. We were introduced to this project through Andy. A number of years ago, he was knocking on our door, and I have to admit, we were trying to run away from him because we were busy doing something else. We were involved in our treaties of Waitangi settlement claims, and then we had this little fellow from, at that time was called Environment BOP, knocking on our door saying, we've got an exciting project. And we finally listened, and by golly, Jingoes, he did. And we got involved. Now, so the Koaro is part of a wider group of fish, indigenous fish, and those who are whitebaiters. They are one of the three main whitebait species in the country. In terms of Te Ao Māori, we also know the whitebait species as inanga, and another one of the freshwater fishery species that are part of it are the kokopu. Now, as the slide suggests, that was born out of a need to arrest the decline of this particular indigenous fish within the lakes. Why is it endangered? Quite frankly, it was because of the predation of trout. It's a delicacy for the trout, and so they were basically chased up into the very shallow margins of all the waterways. As you can see here, according to the slide, it was traditionally one of the primary protein sources for Te Arawa, and a little side note, in our terms of Te Arawa history, when the King movement was going around the country looking to establish the Kingitanga movement, they went to all the great chiefs of the country, and one of the chiefs they arrived to was a chief of Rotorua called Te Mohi. Te Mohi politely refused the request to become the king, notably because he said, the lakes here can feed my people, but they cannot feed the nation. And so, again, that's a hint at how important the fish were in the lakes to Te Arawa at that time. As I've noted, they've declined for a number of reasons. The trout is one, the decline in the water quality and habitat is another. We can blame farming, but that's not the only reason. It does have a huge impact, but it's really land use of all kinds. So again, we can point the finger, but we all as a community need to change our ways. As you can see, they are now only found in tributaries too shallow for the trout. In terms of the tributary that they're found back in Nongataha area, Awaho and Hamurana, they're kept in areas where the trout don't like to swim, and so they've all sort of crowded around, how can I put it? The main springs where the water's the fresh, there's a lot of food, but it's too shallow for the trout to hunt them. Now here's a little picture of the Koaro. We actually had an MP4 in here, but I can't get it to play. What it shows though is that little fish there sitting at the bottom of a 10-litre bucket, swimming around in about 3 or 4 inches of water. Then it jumps up to the side of the bucket, and you can see how far it's climbed. It's very nearly out of the bucket. So it can actually climb. It has little suction caps, and it uses its fins to climb. So what does this mean? What it means is that in areas where there's barriers, they can actually climb over the barrier and get back into the water on the other side. And we do have photographic evidence showing quite a number of these koaro climbing over dams and other such weirs and other structures. So, we have a working party that's made up of the Bay of Plenty Regional Council, Te Arawa Lakes Trust, Department of Conservation, Fish and Game, and I saw Matt out there. Kia ora, Matt, he's one of the working party. Who else have we got there? We also have the Hamurana Springs Incorporated Society, which is a land care group out at Hamurana that are also assisting us as well. And so what we have done is we've chosen one of the tributaries to the Hamurana River to test our project in. So what was discovered when the first research occurred was that quite a number of adult koaro were found at the very shallow end near the springs of this particular tributary, and that the reasoning was that the trout couldn't get up there. And why did we choose that? Well, you'll discover shortly. So, the purpose of it is to support aspirations of our people. One of the things we found out with this project was that as a tribal nation, our children and ourselves did not know this particular fish other than as inanga. We know more about the trout today than we did about the koaro. So it became a study for us that we've actually taken back to our children. So it's not just something that myself and my colleague Gina sit up there and we go and go and save the fish. We've actually included our children, just like a number of other people and families do. So we've taken our children. I'm a grandfather, so we've taken our mokopuna down as well, and we've taught them how to investigate the habitat, to look at more than just the koaro, what keeps the koaro alive. So we've investigated mayflies and all the other macro and micro invertebrate that you can find in a water catchment area. And we've run a number of wānanga with these children. So when I say children, we're talking about teenagers right down to grandchildren of 5, 6, 7 years old. And it's amazing how those children, although they don't look like they're listening, they're really taking it in. And we took them out and they proved to us once they got into the water that they were listening, and they actually got in with nets and started to search for the micro and macro invertebrate. It was just incredible. We got blown away that these children loved science. It taught us to work collaboratively again. I have to admit, prior to getting involved in this project, we had knocked heads with Environment BOP, we had knocked heads with the Department of Conservation, and what this project helped us do was get past that and start to work together on joint not so much project dreams. We all have a dream, and so we were able to start making this dream a reality. So what did we do? We trialled the use of a trout barrier. Basically, we've put up a weir, and the weir is to keep the trout on one side of the protected area and the koaro on the other. It's a 50% workable. Why? When we were erecting the weir, trout spawned on the other side of it. So at the moment we're in 2 years worth of removing the trout from the protected side. We've removed about 40 trout, all sizes. Some of them I did ask if I could take to the smokehouse, but Matt was very clear I had to release them, and so we've released 40 trout of all sizes and some very, very fit ones. And as you can see, finally it's assisted both Ngāti Rangi Wewehi and Te Arawa Lakes Trust to fulfil some of our responsibilities as kaitiaki. And what does that mean? Well, there's 5 notified taonga species, of which the koaro is one. Kaura, kokopu, inanga and kakahi. Those are the ones that I can roll off the top of my head. And as you can see, here's a picture of the koaro. It's a pretty little fish. It looks just like the common bully, only it's gold. So we do biannual koaro monitoring. So twice yearly we go out and monitor these beautiful little fish. And as you can see, we've involved some of our children as well. We basically use Gemini traps to capture them, we measure them, and then we release them again. Here's a picture of the weir as it was getting erected, and a diagram of the intent to it. Now, what you probably can't see in this photo so well, there's actually a little grill on top, and the idea is to keep the trout out or unable to jump over the weir. So far it appears to be working. We've also had to undertake wader safety training. Most of us are born in water and we run around in these waders, but to work in projects like this alongside of dock, you actually have to undertake training. And myself and Gina have undertaken it with other members of the Te Arawa Lakes Trust. One of the other presenters is there, Ian Cusaps, and he's got his own story to tell. And also, the name of the little tributary that we are working on is called the Waitarere. Now here's just a little indicator of a number of years of the monitoring occurring. So this yellow line is common bullies, the blue line is the Koaro, and if memory serves me right, the black line is, no, it's the white line, a Koura. As you can see, we had a very low reading in the first year, and the second year another very low reading, but last year and this year we started to show there was some gain there. What excited us about the last monitoring event that we had was that we discovered fish, animals and traps that hadn't been captured in prior. So what did it tell us? That the fish had started to move down the particular stream that we were protecting. Is it all wonderful? No, some unenvisaged things have occurred, such as since the weir's been erected, we've also had to compete with algae that started to grow in there, and so we've had some scientists have a look at it and see what we can do. At the moment, the best advice is to replant, and so we can have a canopy cover over the river, and that should naturally kill off the algae that's growing in there, because the algae is fed by the sunlight. So what will happen next? Hamurana Springs has transferred back to our hands under the Treaty of Waitangi Settlement. What we are envisaging and doing is continuing with the project and looking at and investigating other projects we can do on there, as well as looking at some commercial development, but the desire is not to let the commercial development destroy the springs or what we've already worked hard to recreate. That we are in a better position to understand the importance of this species and the significance to us as a people. As I indicated prior, we knew nothing about this fish prior to this project. Now our children get excited about it, and as of last week, one of my nephews completed his whakapakari training, which is the qualification that kohanga reo have for their kaiako and their early childhood units, and one of his papers that he studied was the Koaro, and how he related it back to the children, Koaro and Taurata. So you need to come and have a look at Ian. Again, as I said, a better understanding of the historical and cultural context to our people. What's really excited us, another thing that's excited us, is that it's enabled us to join mātauranga Māori with science. What does that mean? It doesn't mean just looking at it in terms of Māori in a cultural context. It means looking at that cultural context in a science perspective. And that has many meanings. In terms of one of my nephews, he used it to study the art of food preservation. That's mātauranga Māori. That's also science. We're also looking at it providing training opportunities for our people. What is that? It is things like that way to training, so we can ensure that our youth and our children get a chance to work in projects such as this. And then it's the ongoing relationship development that we have with all the parties in the project, which is Niwa, Fishing Game, ourselves, Te Arawa Lakes Trust, Bay of Plenty Regional Council and the Department of Conservation. And the final page that we have here, everyone's got to have a marketing ploy, and this is ours. So, Te Tali Taio is the unit within Ngāti Rangi Wewehi that promotes the project, and we also promote environmental projects within our rohe. We are now based at 16 Taui Street, which is the old mill site in Rangataha. So kia ora no tātou, very pleased to share this project with you tonight, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Kia ora, that's a great question actually. what we have found is there's quite a diversity in size now, which is telling us that not only are the numbers increasing, but the population is growing, and getting good retention amongst the population, which is really heartening. So that result wasn't quite reflected in that chart. What we have also noted is that we also biannually do a trout relocation process, and what we've found is that the number of trout we're finding is decreasing. At our last August monitoring program, we actually caught one little trout in the Gina traps, which was translocated back to the mainstream. But and overall, the project is coming along really great, and the results are showing positive results. We're not actively releasing Koaro, but they do migrate as part of their life cycle. But all we can do is provide a safe habitat for them. That it's only the trout that are relocated back to the lake, to the stream.
As Gina sort of related, is that there is a natural process of the Koaro being able to migrate still into the lake. So the weir was constructed with that in mind, so that it still allows the Koaro the opportunity to move freely back and forwards, but still gives us a chance to create a safe habitat for them.